My name is Financial Charles. Today is February 27th of 2024, and one day later, we went from $54,000 to $57,000, which is just incredible. Bitcoin is continuing to go on this run. In the past 2 days, it went from around $50,800 to $57,000 right now, so we went up almost 13%, about 12.4% in the span of 2 days, and by the looks of it, we're really just going up. We're really going up. If you compare where we're at right now to the last cycle, you can see that we're already at the tips of the 2021 bull market. So this is pretty much the top of last cycle. We're not at all-time highs, but we certainly are at the top range. So if you sold at this price of $57,000 during 2021, that was technically a good move, because then you could have rebought back down here. Obviously, I don't play the game of buying high and then trying to buy back low, just because it's difficult to time the markets. But yeah, we're just so high up right now, and we're probably going to be seeing all-time highs very soon. So over the macro scale, when you zoom out, and we were making these videos over here at $25,000 and $30,000. At the time, that looked like it was high compared to where it was down here when it was like $15,000 to $20,000. But when you zoom out and you see that we're climbing up, you could see that this whole entire section right here really was the macro bottom. Even though $30,000 felt pretty high, it was still part of this macro bottom, and we just got in at such a good time, and we just took out leverage at such a good time, and now it's just rallying up. In the last video, I briefly talked about S&P 500 versus Bitcoin and all that, and I just wanted to show you the comment that I was referring to. This is a bit of a funny post on Reddit, and this is such a true picture right here, where Bitcoin, there's a difference between Bitcoin and crypto, but it's a shame that not a lot of people understand. People think crypto is Bitcoin, people think Bitcoin is crypto. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, or like, yeah, Bitcoin is crypto, but crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only true, real project in terms of cryptocurrencies. Every cryptocurrency that is not Bitcoin is a scam, and you could tell that all this fucking just keywords right here just to reel in the retail investors, DAO, NFT, Web3, blockchain technology, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember last cycle, I wasn't even paying attention to any NFTs. I didn't care about NFTs, but then when you go out in the real world and you talk about crypto, people just want to know about NFTs, and that leads me to think that, like, there had to be some type of celebrity, some type of social media celebrity that pushed the idea of NFTs. And that's the reason that these normal people knew what NFTs were, and they associated that with crypto. And like, this is not what you want to be paying attention to. You want to be paying attention to Bitcoin. It is the only true cryptocurrency. It has 21 million units only. And it's not just the fact that it is scarce in value, but it is the very first thing that has been fixed supply scarce. Every other cryptocurrency that was invented after Bitcoin, all it was invented for was to attempt to recreate the Bitcoin gains. Bitcoin was not invented for that. Bitcoin was invented as an alternative to a system in which few people, the power belongs to a few people. So instead of, let me try to reword that. Bitcoin was invented to be the alternative to a system in which the few elites control the monetary system. With Bitcoin, you cannot control the amount that it inflates. You cannot control the amount that is in circulation. You cannot control any of that. You cannot print more Bitcoin. It is decentralized, whereas the US dollar system is centralized and it's controlled by the Federal Reserve. And the government and the Federal Reserve are holding hands. They have incentive to work together to oppress the middle class and oppress everyone in the world, and oppress normal people, so that way the normal people can stay working 40 hours a week for 40 years to continue to produce for the man, which empowers them even more and oppresses you even more. So I made a comment, talking about diversification into the S&P 500, and I know that we are all Bitcoin maxis here, and I am a Bitcoin maxi myself. I put everything into Bitcoin, but I still hold some S&P 500 within a 401k, and because the S&P 500 has been tested and it's been proven with time, and it is fundamentally a good investment because you're investing in the top 500 companies in the United States, and these top 500 companies are providing real economic value via product or service, and that's how they make their money. You know what I'm saying? But Bitcoin, it does not provide any products. What it provides is it is a store of value that no one else can inflate away. The reason that Bitcoin is outperforming everything, and it will continue to outperform, is because of it's a whole it's a transfer of wealth. It was just invented in 2009, and now that this asset exists, existing monetary value will flood into it. But once everyone floods into Bitcoin and everything in the world is measured in Bitcoin instead of dollars, that only then will the S&P 500 start to outperform Bitcoin, because historically the S&P 500 has returned 10% per year, but Bitcoin will continue to outperform S&P 500 for the remainder of our lives. And only once the top 500 companies measure their balance sheet in Bitcoin and they have their reserves in Bitcoin, only then they will outperform the S&P 500. And this Reddit comment explains why. So this guy right here, he said, real businesses produce real economic value and give people real things they need to live. Honestly, that's more valuable than Bitcoin at maturity. Bitcoin has not matured yet. It's a new asset class. Bitcoin until maturity is going to provide a ton of good once businesses start using it as a reserve asset. So all these businesses, like in the top, in the S&P 500, they have not used Bitcoin as a reserve asset yet. Only a couple have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, such as Tesla. And here, this is what I said. I said, good point. So do you think over time S&P 500 will start to outpace Bitcoin growth, assuming all 500 companies start using BTC as a reserve? Because Bitcoin is just Bitcoin, while top 500 companies will be Bitcoin plus economic value provided. So it's like saying infinity plus one is greater than infinity. And in a way it is true, so the only way that the S&P 500 can outperform Bitcoin is if all these 500 companies start using Bitcoin as a reserve asset, but they haven't done that yet. But once they start to transition into using Bitcoin as a reserve asset, Bitcoin is going to be a lot more than $57,000. It's going to be not even in the hundreds of thousands. Bitcoin is destined to be in the millions of dollars. And I'm not even talking single-digit millions. Eventually, it'll be double-digit millions in our lifetime. So, and it's just a matter of time until people... It's just a matter of time until people and big entities see it. The very beginning, it was just the early adopters, and then it was, the retails, and then small institutions, right, like MicroStrategy. And now we're seeing the big institutions like BlackRock, Fidelity. Really, this is the ETF cycle right here. This was the early people, the computer coders and the cryptographers. This right here was the retail investors. This right here was the small institutions like MicroStrategy and Tesla. And now we're seeing the BlackRock, Fidelities, and the ETFs. So it's going to keep on going up and up and up. Each class has more and more capital to put into Bitcoin. And then after the ETFs and the large institutions such as BlackRock and Fidelity, the next cycle after that, it's going to be nation states, it's going to be countries. El Salvador is already ahead of the curve. And it's only a matter of time until these countries abandon the US dollar as world reserve currency in favor for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is more sound. Bitcoin is not controlled by a central entity that can just print money at will. Bitcoin is fixed at 21 million forever. And in April, the issuance of new Bitcoin mined will be cut from 900 new Bitcoin per day to 450 new Bitcoin per day. Throughout 2024 to 2028, in between that time frame, about 650,000 new Bitcoins will be put into circulation. And in the first month of these ETFs being live, these large institutions such as BlackRock and Fidelity, they've gobbled up over 1/3 of that in just 1 month, just 1 month. So we're going to continue to see major growth, and it's only a matter of time until we see a major supply shock that will send Bitcoin's price skyrocketing. So this is Bitcoin divided by S&P 500. So as the more the chart goes up, that's the more that Bitcoin gains over S&P 500. And yeah, so eventually, as I said earlier, the only time S&P 500 is going to outperform Bitcoin is if all 500 companies use Bitcoin as a world reserve, I'll show you this right here. Here is a chart, a table showing all years of the S&P 500 returns, and if the black numbers are positive returns, the red numbers are negative returns, and you can see that barely any negative years just in total. There's so many more positive years than negative years. So like this was just the dot-com bubble, but all of this other stuff, even like 2008, that was the only negative year. It went down 37%, and then in the span of 2 years is already recovering, And if you pay attention to all these black numbers, a lot of these are double-digit returns. S&P 500 is average 10% return on average per year, but all of these, it's all double-digit returns. Sure, you get some years that's like 1% return, 2% return, but most of these they're all double digits. And when you see these red years right here, that is just an open buying opportunity. That's an opportunity for you to be buying. But all of these numbers right here are all double-digit returns. So the chances of you losing by investing in S&P 500 is very, very slim. And as we saw by the S&P, or the Bitcoin divided by S&P, Bitcoin is always just gaining more over S&P, and that will continue to be the case until those companies use Bitcoin as a reserve. Let's see if this will load the yearly. I'm on a hotspot right now, but yeah, this is Bitcoin ever since 2011 against the S&P 500. Over the macro scale, Bitcoin continues to outperform the S&P, and it will continue to do that. Like S&P 500 returned over 25% in the year 2023, which is astronomical. So anyone that performed or anyone that invested in S&P over the last year, like you won. But with Bitcoin, oh my goodness, with Bitcoin, it's even greater. Bitcoin went up 156% in 2023, and look, it only had 3 negative years in total. You had 2014 negative 58, 2018 negative 73, and then 2022, which was negative 65. Even if Bitcoin dropped 73%, that is the ultimate time to buy. All of these returns are just astronomical. You got 5,000%, which we probably won't see because that was when Bitcoin was really in its earliest years. So if you got in early, you won there. 2017 was a very good year, quadruple digit years. And everything else is pretty much a triple digit year, 100%, 300%, 156%, and then you even got 92% and then 58%. These are incredible gains, and this is what Bitcoin has done throughout its existence. That's what it's done throughout its existence. And as you could see, as we keep saying, Bitcoin will continue to outperform S&P, and the only time it will not is once the 500 companies buy into Bitcoin. So yeah, here's a post from Reddit just to close out this video today. This was when Bitcoin was still at $54,000, but we're at $57,000 right now. But there has only been 124 days in which Bitcoin has been more expensive than it is right now at this very moment. And those days were the very tippy tops of the 2021 bull market. So had you sold at that price or at $57,000 in 2021, that would have been an amazing price to sell because you could have got in back lower. We're pretty much already at the all-time highs once again. Like, don't let yourself get fooled. Like, look at this chart. Just look at that chart. We are already there. Look at where this green line is. We are already there. We're not technically at the 69,000, but this is between now and 69,000. There's very little discrepancy. We are already here, and the halving hasn't even happened yet. The halving is going to happen in a little less than 2 months from now. all-time high is only less than 20% away. It's less than 20% away. So, and we already know, according to history, what happens when Bitcoin surpasses its all-time high. It creates a drastically higher all-time high. This one went from $20,000, surpassing the all-time high, to over 60. That's over 3x. So Bitcoin will continue to just rocket up. It'll continue to rocket up. And yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. I just want to make a quick video just to, document where we're at. And yeah, it's just incredible. It's just incredible. Sure, you can invest in S&P, but Bitcoin will continue to outperform S&P. That's the thesis. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next video.